This bus came in with a complaint of a large clunk on the front right brake and just brakes not working very well at all. We just had it in recently and we adjusted the brakes and they were way out of adjustment from the last time we have done them, and he didn't have very many miles on it, so we were surprised that they were out of adjustment. So we're going to take a look at things a little bit deeper this time because it seems like they're out of adjustment again. Okay, go ahead and do that. Just back and forth, just keep doing it. Let's come out of there. Push it back in. Just a minute. Push that brake shoes are like loose. Do it again. Okay. Well, there's no anchor pins. They are gone. These brake shoes are just sitting in there. As you can see, they're falling out. Pins not just pushed back, they are both gone. Never seen that before. This new tire's been rubbing on his airbag. All right, so the parking brakes don't seem like they're holding as well as they should. So one thing we've never checked on this is the air pressure regulator that sets the DD3 parking brake on. This regulator should be set between 80 to 85 PSI. So when the cam lock rollers grab it, it's using that amount of pressure. And then when you have more than that air pressure, you can release the brake. So you don't want it to set the parking brake at 120, because if you don't have more than 120, you can't get it to move to release. So we're making sure this regulator is set at 80. This is part of the DD3s. 80 to 85 is what we're looking for here. And it looks like we're going to be right on the money here. Our air compressor is a little slow here to build this, but yeah, if this is working real well, that's what we need to have it set at. So we're checking our slack adjuster push rod travel here. Our base number here is about 3.75, 3 3/4 inches. And then with the brakes applied, we're like 7 inches. These are definitely maxed out. They're out of adjustment. The brakes are not applying fully. Well, we know that we just adjusted these brakes 1,000 miles ago, and they're out of adjustment like this now. So something's wrong with the slack adjusters, and we pulled the slack adjuster off, and it has rusted apart. You couldn't see this from the outside. This is the inside part. Unless you take it off, you couldn't see it, but the cover had rusted off. Water's been getting in there, and it's rusted out the spring that locks it in place. So the slack adjuster has not been able to lock into position. All right, so we're going to replace the slack adjuster with a new one, and then adjust the brakes properly. Bring it down, back it off a half a turn. Spin. Okay, I'm going to go put the parking brake on, then we're going to remeasure the slack adjuster travel, okay? All right, so here now with the brake applied, the slack adjuster travel, the push rod travel here is about 5.5. So from just under 4 inches, so about 1.5 inches of travel we're getting right now. So well within spec. So here we're going to check the other side, and measuring our stroke here, we're about right around 4 inches again. And then with the brake applied, we are coming out to pretty close to 7. So this one's almost maxed out as well. So we're going to go ahead and just replace this slack adjuster too, because we know that these were just adjusted 1,000 miles ago. These two slack adjusters are the same age, under the same conditions and everything. So let's just eliminate this, put new slacks on here, and go from there. One thing we noticed when we were in here, that there's a remote grease fitting that fills the S-cam with grease, and that remote grease line has bursted open, so no grease has actually been going to the S-cam up here. So we just disconnected the line and put a fitting on it so it can actually get greased. That's what I don't like about remote fittings. When they break, you don't know it, and you can't see the grease in the middle somewhere. All right, with the new slack adjuster on this side, we're going to check our push rod travel here. So we know we're about 4 inches without, and with the brakes applied, we're about 5.5. So we're about 1.5 inches of travel, which is well within spec. Lots of room to go on there. So he's going to have much improved braking again on this. The parking brakes will be so much better, and the dry brakes. Both those slack adjusters just must be bad. We did notice a bad belt here on his air conditioner. This is for the factory air. That's going to be breaking pretty soon. And then here we got all of our new parts for that front end from our buddy Luke at US Coach, a new airbag and the new anchor pins, and a brake spring was missing as well, and the retainer for that. So because that airbag's been wearing from the tire, it's still holding air, not leaking, but we don't like it, so we're going to replace it. And then we're going to make the adjustment here so the wheel can't turn as far and rub that airbag. And then we'll get these new parts on here that we got from Luke. These anchor pins, there's a little lock plate for it that goes in between them and holds them in place so they can't come out again. And then we're going to get that secure in there and replace the missing spring as well. So we'll get this front end finished up here. This front brake that obviously was inoperable, and his braking is going to be much, much improved when the next time he drives this bus. All right, I'm just dry fitting everything here. The locking pins fit in, feel nice. The plate goes in there. We're going to get this all cleaned up. There's 2 grease fittings that go into the end of each of these to spread grease in the middle. But we're going to take these back apart real quick, get it all cleaned up, and then reassemble it, put new grease fittings in it. I'm going to add a little Loctite as well as a lock washer on that center lock. Here we're going to bring the bolt that stops the turn limit on it, the limiter. We're going to bring it out 1.5 turns so that there's no way these oversized tires are going to hit that airbag anymore. His turn radius is going to be reduced just a little bit, but the edge of this bolt is actually worn from being smashed so many times, so that limited it a little too. But 1.5 revolutions, I believe, is going to get us where we need, but we'll bring it out 1.5 and then adjust the jam nut back on it, and then go from there. Measure, check the tire, make sure it's not rubbing at full limit. But I think we're going to be good with 1.5 turns. All right, so we got that set there, about 1.5 revolutions out, and you can see where that edge was kind of tapered and worn on there. So that's going to be much better now, and prevent that from happening again. Now we just got to change the airbag. But yeah, here, you see how that's worn there? That was definitely allowing it to turn further than it should have. Yeah, you can see here on the airbag how you can see the cords are actually showing through where it's worn through the airbag from the tire rubbing it. So that was not safe to leave on there. Okay, we got the new airbag on there. We just sprayed it down with a bunch of soapy water and inflated it just to make sure that there's no air leaks or anything. This has a plated system on there, so there's a block-off plate on the top. So the actual air beam itself isn't being used right now, because normally the air chamber above it, air would flow all the way up through here. There's some type of a pinhole rust leak or something in here, and there's a little bit of corrosion. So just the smallest leak would cause the airbags to come down. So they're plated off.
Oh yeah, plenty of rub.
Yeah, and here we're checking the tire now. There's no tire rub. We're good. All right, we're going to send him down the road with some really good working brakes now. And I got a text reply to him. I asked him how the brakes were doing, and he said the bus stops like a car. That's great feedback from him.
See that white smoke rising up the holler through the trees, and from a mile away you can hear them play as they climb that hill with ease. At the top of that mountain there's a new life waiting for those who can make the run. If they can make it to the top, Scott will put them in the shop till their new life has begun.